Welcome to the show. It's deep with a twist. We're laughing through the scriptures where humor coexists. Cultural, come on and take a seat. It's faithful and it's fun wherever it meets feet. Dive into the stories, hear the podcast call. It's more mixed up with a smile in the cultural hall.
It is time for another episode of the Cultural Hall. It is an Articles of News episode. Yes, there will be interviews again, everyone. Geez, it's just, it's a general conference, and, it's sometimes easier to be able to do news than it is to be able to get an interview. And you know what? Sometimes it's not easy to get news with Megan the Mitch Mitchell, which is what we've done here. Welcome, Megan.
Hello, thank you. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for the obligatory check-in of my welfare that people do whenever you start something. How are you? I'm good. How are you? It's one of my communication/radio/podcast pet peeves.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
How's your hairline? Is it
Thank
doing
you.
good?
It's great, but
Okay.
I want to address this because will anyone ever, this is a general populist problem, but will anyone ever in a situation where you're starting something out, does it matter how you are in a podcast? I'm good. I'm bad. Things are a disaster. Like the reason why people do that is just so that they can have a start question.
Yeah.
And I just think, save me the start question.
Okay, so what's your alternative?
I would say, Megan the Mitch, welcome. And then you say, oh, yeah, glad to be here or something like that. We're excited to talk about lots of news within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Oh, the only other thing is if I said something like, Megan the Mitch, so do it to me. How are you?
How are you, Richie?
Well, actually, I have been a lot better before in my life. And that's one of the things I want to talk about today. Struggling to figure out, kind of the trajectory of my life. And maybe I can get some input from you, right? I
can do what I can.
Yeah, that is a launch point. How are you? Good. How are you? Fantastic. That I yell at my radio and at my earphones when people do that because I go, they're fine. Get to what we're talking about.
Well, I'm taking an interpersonal communications class right now for school.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that will help me not do the thing that bugs you.
Yeah, well,
and other people.
Listen, I already feel closer to you interpersonally. Is that
all right?
Yeah.
That seems weird.
Have you, let me ask you this, you're still in school. I thought we were done. Isn't there a done on the horizon with this whole thing?
Like 2.5 years.
Oh, still, okay.
Well, because I've got a family,
Sure.
I don't, yeah, right. I don't have the time or bandwidth to take like 12 credits a semester.
Sure.
I'm really kind of hovering around like 6 credits a semester. So that causes it to take some time.
Yeah.
I tried to do 7 this semester, but that one credit class actually was like too much for me because I had to use like other websites to submit my assignments, and I had to watch all these tutorials on how to get my assignments turned in right. And I thought to myself, for a 1 credit class, if I have to watch tutorials on how to submit my assignments on other websites, it's not for me right now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hear me very loudly. No sort of like should or shame or anything like that. But I think in my mind or in the back of my mind, I thought there was like a certification and it was like, ta-da! I think what you're doing is amazing. The example that you're setting for your kids, the things that you're doing for yourself and the completion, the goal that you have, all of those things, amazing. Mm-hmm. So it was no sort of like, well, what's taking you so long? It was I swear, I thought we said there was a certification and then that was the thing. But that was my misunderstanding.
Okay. In the BYU Pathway program, which facilitates you getting your degree through Ensign or BYU Idaho, those degrees are made up of 3 certifications.
Okay.
So I got my first one, which was social media marketing, and I'm currently working on my communication core certificate. So where I was focusing on social media before, this one is focusing on, like I said, interpersonal communication, public speaking, mass media, things like that.
And then the third one is what? What is the third one then?
I can't remember.
Something else. Something
communications related.
And then the other thing that I have to ask you about that then, so you have the required religion classes as part of this, yeah?
Yeah. Yep.
So there was the big call out that they needed more teachers to be pathway religion teachers. How are those people that come in? I would imagine you get some varied sorts of level and credibility and talent and all those things within the religion portion of those classes. How's that?
Yeah, it's really good because you get a variety of perspectives on the gospel.
Hmm.
I've had mission presidents, like former mission presidents as my
Sure.
teachers. I've had, you know, gentlemen who it's their side gig, but
Mhm.
I don't think it's paid anyway, but it's their side thing. I've had stay-at-home moms. I currently have a stay-at-home mom as my teacher, and
Mhm.
she's really, really great. Her husband's a religion professor or a institute teacher, I mean, up at USU.
Okay.
So she has a lot of insight from him and brings really cool things to the table. So it's a cool variety of people who share different perspectives on the gospel.
That's awesome. That is
Yeah,
cool. Because you worry about some of that where it's like, I am the professor of religion. And it's
right.
like, oh man, I just need someone that doesn't give me the Hebrew root of the, you know what I'm saying? Where it's just
Yep,
like, I tried today and I didn't make it. That sucked real
exactly.
bad. That kind of thing. Well,
And
cool.
the great thing is that they're all very understanding of the fact that we have lives
Hmm.
and that life happens. There's been a couple of times when, because they're more or less self-paced classes, even though we have a weekly meeting.
Hmm.
If you can't make it to the meeting, you have a recording that you can watch, and then you do like an assignment saying like, this is what I learned from the recording or whatever. But there's been classes like semesters where I have fallen behind,
Hmm.
and the teachers are super understanding of giving me time to get things done and saying, okay, this is all you have left to do. Can you get it done by such and such date,
Yeah.
and that's been really great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You mentioned traveling all over. Anything, everyone get ready. Wouldn't that be nice? This is the future.
um
Wouldn't that be nice with Megan
wouldn't
and
that
Mitch
be nice?
Mitchell? Wouldn't that be
um
nice?
we went on a vacation with my in-laws
Now, when we say
back at
we
the
saying husband and wife, or are you saying family?
family
Okay.
family so us and our kids and my mother and father-in-law, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law.
Oh,
We
that's a
did
lot of people.
that. Yeah, but the great thing is we all stay in separate rooms, and we all kind of do our own thing and come together occasionally, which
Okay.
is
So
nice.
scheduled come together. We've got one of these coming up next July, where
Yeah.
all of my siblings were going to where we used to go on vacation as kids.
Oh, cool.
And so it's going to be a lot of time, but also it's going to be a lot of time.
Yeah. We mostly kind of did our own thing for the
Okay.
most part. Occasionally we'd be like, "Hey, do we all want to meet up for dinner? Do we all want to go and do this thing together, or do some of us want to do this together?" Or
Mhm.
grandma and grandpa are getting older; they might not want to do the more physical thing, you
Sure.
know.
Sure.
So yeah, we
Okay.
had we had a good time there. We
Now, where was there?
then
You said you went with them, but I don't know where that was.
Okay, so it was a cruise in New England and Canada. So we
Gorgeous.
did Boston and Portland, Maine, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Saguenay, Quebec,
Okay.
Canada. And it was really, really enjoyable. We had a really good time.
Yeah.
So,
Must be
and
nice.
it was great because I was going to say, contact at theculturalhall.com. You can
Uh-huh.
just let everybody know that I'm a big old privileged, you know.
I think it's great. Man, you
Thank
put
you.
up with so many young kids for so long. Now that they can take care of themselves, you vacation every single chance you can.
We absolutely will. We absolutely will. We got home from our cruise on September 11th, and then on September 13th, me and my oldest daughter drove up to BYU, Idaho, so I could drop her off for her freshman year
Ooh,
up there.
how was
And
that,
that
Mom?
was, oh, well, here's the thing. When we got there, so she was going to start in January because
Hmm.
she's on the January or like the winter spring track,
Hmm.
but they have flex tracks. So you can go at a different semester if you want. You're not obligated to, you're obligated to go on the track you're assigned, but you can do a different one too. And
Sure.
so she decided to, at the last minute, to go up sooner. And
Did
so
you
her
guys
housing
did you
option,
guys have a fight? And she's like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go to
no,
college early.
no, actually, it was interesting. I kept getting emails saying your child hasn't registered for classes. Your child hasn't like found housing yet.
Hmm.
Try to get that stuff done. And I was like, Siobhan, should you be actually starting in September? And she's like, no. And then she called the school, and they were like, no, basically you can just start like if you want to.
Hmm.
And so she's like, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
And so But she was really limited on housing
Mhm.
options. So
Mhm.
they didn't have any on campus housing available. And she just kind of picked an apartment. We got that all going. When I got her up to school and got her into her apartment, it was very clear that it was not going to be a good situation.
Oof.
It was a dump, and we
Mhm.
paid a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
And when I say it was a dump, I mean like the front door wouldn't close and lock.
Oh,
You
safe.
know, there
Safe
was
for an
yeah,
apartment full of women. Sure.
exactly. There was smoke damage in her bedroom that was
Jeez.
not disclosed to us. There was
Jeez.
scorch marks on the carpet and cabinets falling off, you know, and so and then there was some issues with the roommates too that I don't want to get into, but it was just this was not
Bad
the place.
situation. So you
Yeah,
go,
bad
nope,
situation.
we're not doing this.
Exactly. And my husband came up a few hours after we did. And I called him and I'm like, this isn't going to work. And so then we spent Saturday, the 14th, finding her a new place to live
Hmm.
and driving around everywhere, trying to find stuff that still had a spot. And we got her into a really nice, good place that she has awesome roommates that she's connected with really well. So, what
Thriving?
was a what?
Thriving? Is she thriving?
Yes, she
Good.
very much is. The only thing is that we need her to get a job.
Mm.
And she's applied to like a million places and like doesn't hear anything, but there's like 20,000 college kids trying to get a job. So
Sure.
if anybody's listening in Rexburg and wants to hire a girl without a car who really needs a job, let me know.
What is she good at? What is she good at? Contact to theculturehall.com. There's got to be a
She's
Rexburg connection. What is she good at?
right, exactly. So she's very outgoing and friendly.
Hmm.
So she's really good at dealing with people.
Okay. Customer
She's done
service is what I hear. Go on.
Yeah, she's done food service before, so she has that experience.
Hmm.
But really, at this point, she's kind of open to anything.
Hmm.
She has had one interview so far, but hasn't heard back.
Yeah.
And then she has an interview on Friday at like an assisted living center
Mm.
to like do housekeeping. But again, we just don't, there's no guarantee from an interview.
All
So,
right. All right.
and she's incredibly friendly. She says she's an introvert, but she's not. She's really really outgoing, and she loves movies. She loves like different fandoms. She's an artist, so she anything having to do with an artistic thing, whatever.
Perfect.
So yeah,
Okay.
if anybody knows of anything, let me know.
Contact at culturalhall.com.
Exactly. A few weeks after that, my husband had a business trip in Florida, so I went with him there.
Was
And
that
we had a great
during
time.
the hurricane?
So it was interesting. By the time we got there, the hurricane had moved inland enough, and it actually didn't really hit the city we were going to,
Okay.
in other than like strong winds.
Mm.
And so we were really lucky. But he had a lot of. So it's a vendor show for air compressors, which
Yeah,
if it sounds boring, it
no,
is.
that sounds like a party. What are you kidding me?
Very much, very much. But a lot of people coming to this conference were from North Carolina and South Carolina.
Oh, geez.
And so there were some people who couldn't get there, lots of people who could, but they're like cities that were really close to them were just wiped out
Decimated.
entirely.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an interesting dynamic. But we missed this other hurricane, Melvin, by just a couple days. So that was good for us because it sounds like we would have been toast. So very lucky that we were safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up in the news. I got an email that I want to share.
Let's hear it.
This is from Varden. Varden says, was listening to the Bad, Good, Good episode. That's the most recent episode of Articles of News, but couldn't finish after ramming into the Nemo discussion. Now, if you don't know who Nemo is, this is an individual that recently shared his excommunication letter. He is one that has, with the church, tried to say, hey, you know what? These are things that the church has done or that apostles have said, and this is not true, or this is, the actual reality of these things is such. And so that's who that person is. I'm not very familiar with Nemo the Mormon, but that is who this person is referencing. We talked about it on our last discussion. Varden goes on to say he seeks to sow unbelief in people, and he personally doesn't believe in the church. Full stop. He is John DeLynn or Radio Free Mormon 2.0, destroying faith wherever he can find it. I'm generally okay with a lot of different voices in the church. Goes on to say my wife and children are all out, but this guy doesn't deserve air cover. Sorry for the negativity, Varden. So it got me to thinking, and I would be curious as to where you land on this. That's not a full discussion, but just a
Sure.
wondering. Certainly within the church, it seems that we can share our own opinions, and when
Mhm.
those opinions run counter to what the church believes, or let me couch that actually a little bit different. Like, if in fact what he was saying is he would say, so and so said this, so and so said the sky is blue.
Mhm.
And we actually know that this is green. We know that this is green. He said that it was blue. I don't know why he said it was blue, but it was green. It's interesting to me how I feel about that.
Okay.
I think that some people would go, anyone who would say that it isn't blue, like what this individual said, is trying to sow unbelief. What do you think, like, is the place in the church for people to be critical of the church, but that doesn't step over to like sowing unbelief because it's a tightrope. Because
Mhm.
if let's take a very well-known something. Let's take something like Joseph Smith and polygamy, right?
Mhm.
I think it was a thing that was not discussed for a long time ago, for a long time, right? It was
Yeah.
always there, and different people knew more about it than others. But now it's very much in the
Transparent.
forefront of the church and transparent, right? If in that time when it was not really talked about a bunch, if I said, "Well, Joseph Smith was a polygamist. He had multiple wives. That this is the truth. This was the truth, and no one was
Mhm.
really speaking it." You heard this and went, I've never heard this before. And then you start to have questions, or you start to, have, some faith wanderings because you hadn't ever heard that before. Am I sowing unbelief by proclaiming truths, or
Mhm.
where does that come
For,
together for you?
for me, I think it has to do with the motives behind sharing said information. If you're like, I think you can tell in somebody's tone of voice, in the way it's presented, in the way that they have the discussion with you,
Hmm.
that if they're actively trying to, like, I'm sharing this with you to pull you away,
Hmm.
that's where I think it gets really dicey, because I have friends even in my ward who think differently than I do, and they have differing opinions on the church, they have differing opinions on the temple, differing opinions on um, the covenants we make, right? And we can have open discussions about that.
Hmm.
And I never feel like those people are trying to actively remove my belief. Does
Hmm.
that make sense?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
feel like they're trying to have an open discussion so that they can understand where I'm coming from and help me understand where they're coming from. And even like, I would extend this to people who have left the church as well.
Hmm.
If they're like, I have family who have left the church,
Sure.
and I have never felt like they're trying to pull me over to their side. They respect my beliefs, I respect theirs, and it's not a competition for who's right, who's wrong, none of that. It's
Right.
um so I think when it gets beyond that, and like you said, it's a tightrope, but I think when it gets beyond that, that's where it gets dicey for me, because that person who's telling me all that information, they have no idea what spiritual confirmations I've had. They
Sure.
have no idea what sacred experiences that I have had that drive my belief. And so it gets, just in my opinion, it just gets really, really disrespectful of my belief system and where I fall with my testimony.
Hmm.
Does
Hmm.
that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure there are other opinions about it. Contact at
Absolutely.
theculturalhall.com. One of the reasons that I feel like let me think, we're coming up on what, 14 years? Is that right? 14 years of the Cultural Hall next year? Yeah, that's right.
Sounds
So
right.
we're 13 and a half years right now. One of the things that has driven me to be able to have a discussion about anything, where anyone can come in and talk in the Cultural Hall and we'll, talk about it, is I feel like people should know about the church that they are a part of.
Sure.
That has sort of been the driving thing for me. And so you see someone like this who is saying the church should be more transparent about what their money is, or the church, I mean, let's say it very clearly, the church is not transparent about the money,
Hmm.
about what it does with its money. They are transparent in part, They
Sure.
are transparent in some of the way they talk about some areas of it, but we are not able to see ledgers. We don't know what the church's value is. There is a large shroud of non-transparency around it.
Yeah.
That's just the facts.
Sure.
That's just it. We used to
Yeah.
be more transparent about it. We aren't anymore.
Mhm.
And so I think sometimes when people would say something like, if I took the next step and I said, and I think that the church should be more transparent about it,
Mhm.
or I personally would be more comfortable with more transparency around financial things. I
Mhm.
think some people go, oh man, geez, he's pushing the church. He's trying to get these things, or, why does he need it? Why can't he
Yeah.
just believe because, the church says that it is? And so it's hard for me because there are some people when it borders on something that is difficult for them, or
Sure.
that they don't want to think about, or that they haven't thought about at all,
Mhm.
that then they go, the old thing that we used to say is, oh, that's just anti-Mormon. It's just an anti-Mormon thing. And it can just be something that is difficult or true
Sure.
and you don't like. And
Yeah.
I just wish, and I'm not saying that Varden did this, but I,
Yeah.
I do think that we need to look critically at when people will say something, or, are we upset at it because we're not comfortable with it? Or we're
Mhm.
upset about it because we didn't know and we're maybe a
Yeah.
little bit embarrassed? Are we upset about something because we genuinely do feel like that person is trying to lead people away from the church?
Mhm.
I think it's worth the extra moments of thinking to go, why is it that this makes me upset? And not just group it in with anything that isn't 100% the church is anti-Mormon. I think that's a false look. And again, Varden wasn't doing that, but I just think it opens it
Right.
up for a greater
No,
discussion.
I agree. And I think it was even was it Elder Uchtdorf in this past conference who, or in talks, he has spoken about having questions and why questions are good,
Hmm.
and but I will say that when I get into, discussions of hard topics, as soon as somebody tells me, do your research, you'll find out, like, the conversation shuts down for me,
Yeah.
because I look at it and I go, how do you know I haven't? You
Yeah.
don't know what books I've read,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing with kind of any complicated topic in society. For instance, vaccinations. Do
Sure.
your research. I'm out, because
Yep.
you don't know what I've researched. You don't know what I've studied, and you don't know what I've done to get to the conclusions that I'm at.
Right. Right.
So,
And that very much denotes that there's like a right and a wrong, right? If you do
right,
your research, if you do the work, you'll agree with me, but otherwise you're ignorant. You haven't done the
right,
thing. Yeah.
yeah,
I hate that. People are the worst about that.
yeah.
This other thing, and then we'll take a break and we'll come back and do actual articles of news. A couple episodes ago, I asked for reviews only because we're so close to 400 reviews on the Apple Podcasts. So we are two away at this point.
Okay.
If you have not yet reviewed the Cultural Hall, please do so. I must have done that call out for reviews in or around sometime the 11th of September, because that's when the last three that I have not shared were written. I wish to share those with you now. This is how simple it can be. This is from TJ, Who's Your Mama?
Yeah.
Love listening and always look forward to each episode. So there you go. Simple, right? You don't have to write a novel. Although I do think that the more specific you are, I think that helps other people that are looking for a new show to listen to. This one from Egdo. I love people's names, by the way. I was fortunate to find Richie and Friends in 2017. I've been a loyal listener since. I enjoy the humor, lightheartedness of the Cultural Hall. I can't really express what the show has been for me, as my life has been through ups and downs during this time. I love that I've had a solid show to listen to that is helpful in forming my views with different topics and situations surrounding the church and life in general. By far the best show in podcast form. I mean, I would say maybe the only show that has gone to such lengths to stress that it is a show in podcast form. And then this last one, it's from the Dr. Groovy. Says the Cultural Hall is the perfect balance of information and entertainment. The interviews are all thought-provoking, and the articles of news episodes are interesting. Who could ask for more?
Who
That's
could
right.
ask for anything more? Sorry.
All right, let's take a break.
Gershwin.
When we come
Okay.
back, we'll do actual articles of news. BestDJinUtah.com is the website. That is where you go if you would like me to come and DJ your event. Now, will I do a family reunion where you all wear the same t-shirts? You bet I will. Will I travel to wherever you're at? Uh-huh. Am I reasonable as far as what I cost? Yes. Yes. Do I bring a good time? Yeah, all the things. Listen, Best DJ in Utah. It's my company. It's a thing I do that allows me to be able to have the time to do the cultural hall. So if someone's getting married, you think, man, they need a great DJ. You're throwing a party, whether it's a 50th or 60th or 40th or 20th or whatever the party is. I've done them all and would love to be able to do that. An anniversary party, certainly done those. I did a baptism in 2023. Yeah, we did a big dance party at a baptism. Spoiler, not a Mormon baptism, but it was fun nonetheless. BestDJInUtah.com is a website. I will get back to you within 24 hours with a quote. Come on now. BestDJInUtah.com.
Imagine running a small business today. It's challenging. Imaging and internet presence is an absolute must. Even with that, you're still a small star in a bright cyber universe. Now, imagine you have someone who understands how to get your site designed for your talents and then easily searched by potential clients. Imagine Lennon Design. Whether it's strictly a website or a whole package of logo creation, advertising media, and promotional materials, Lennon Design is your partner in business. They'll test the boundaries of their imagination to create something unique for you. When you need creative, affordable design, let it be Lennon Design. Call 801-699-3022 or visit LennonDesign.com.
Here in the second half of Articles of News, we do actual articles of news. Hit it, Peter.
You can't lose articles of news.
And away we go. Now, if people have been listening for the last couple months with the co-hosts that I have come on to do the news, I have started to ask them, hey, here's a bunch of news, things that I think are newsworthy. I would love it if you would put them in the order that you think we should talk about them. And I'm always, I find it curious to see what people think is important and the order that they want to do it. And Megan the Mitch is no different on this.
I didn't know I was supposed to do it in order of importance. I just did it in order that I want to talk about it.
Well, no, I guess that's what I mean, right? The order that you want to talk about it. Now, but I am going to supersede you only on this, and then we don't have to go into it anymore. I had amidst all of the news that I sent Megan to select from, they are ordering 20 episodes of a second season of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Everyone, we can rest easy. We are going to find out what happens to all of them. We are
so excited.
It's currently in production. What's going to happen with the Affleck guy that's not actually related to Affleck who got caught in a lie about being related? I love that.
Did they forget that our church is so ingrained in genealogy that somebody was going to find that?
Well, I remember as a young kid being caught in a lie like that.
Sure.
I had told my best friend, Brian Ross was his name. He lived right next door to me. And he was telling me about how he and his parents were going to go see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is the ones in the early 90s, right? Big deal.
Sure.
Maybe it was the second one. I can't remember. Anyway, I was like, oh, I'd already seen it, which I hadn't. I lied about it. Oh, yeah, it's so good. You're going to love it. I've already seen it. Well, my mom took that opportunity to teach me a life lesson and took all of my siblings and went with the neighbor and the two kids and the siblings. And when I asked, do I get to go? She said, no, you've already seen it.
Ha.
And I've never forgotten that kind of thing. It catches up. You can't lie.
Yep.
You should anyway, that whole commandment thing.
Yeah, there's that pesky little commandment.
But you can't lie, and we get more lies, and we get more speculation. It is still, I mean, that's been almost a month ago now that the show came out. It is still in the top. It's like the highest streamed thing in the first while of something from Hulu. People love it. Most people within the church that I know are like, what? This is not, they want to give an ex-Mormon or a not-so-Mormon to the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I've even seen the people that are like, you want to know the real secret life of a Mormon wife, and they've tried to make their life the reality show that they thought that this would be, which is boring, and that's why they didn't do that show. No offense. Right? I took my carpool. Nope, no one cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want the scandalicious stuff. But rest easy, everyone. A second season.
Our prayers are answered.
Kind of a fun side note. You may know someone that might be in one of the episodes.
Oh, was it Richie Stedman?
It might be. Okay. Still
Let
looking
me guess.
on
DJing?
yes.
For an event?
Yep. We'll see. It hasn't been locked down yet, but the discussions are being had.
Listen, as long as the intro says with special guest star,
Yeah.
the best DJ in Utah, Richie Stedman. I don't
Sure.
think it's worth it to you.
Well, I would insist on with special guest star from Best DJ in Utah and co-host of the longest running show available in podcast form, R. Thomas Stedman. But I don't know.
There-
It's in my writer. We'll see. That's why contract
Yeah.
hasn't been signed.
Exactly. Exactly.
So everyone rest easy. We're in for a lot more of it. And they're planning a big crossover, just so everyone knows. Spoiler
that sounds
alert.
right.
A big crossover with the Real Housewives. That will be the episode that I'll be in if it ends up happening. So get excited, everyone.
I'm thrilled.
Our non-religion on display are not actual people that whatever. Okay, let's get to your news. Where did you want to start?
All right. A national study finds that Latter-day Saints are the faith community most resilient to political division and polarization. So a new study by More in Common, I've never heard of that organization,
Okay.
but they found out that members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are the most resilient to political division and polarization. They found that part of the reasoning is that 90% of the church, membership of the church, believes that political discussions should not be had in religious settings.
Agreed.
Very much agreed. And they attribute that to the church's official stance of political neutrality, which that makes sense. However, members of the church are not immune to division,
Sure.
but they find that happens because of social issues, not necessarily political issues, which maybe those could be different things. But issues like same-sex marriage, transgender issues can be divisive, and some members report feeling tension around them. But what's unique about Latter-day Saints is that the polarization that they experience tends to be more on a personal level, as members of the church personally reconcile their faith with those complex political and social issues.
Interesting.
And they also believe that just our strong faith identity can help us navigate those waters and be able to, I'm going to add this, but the fact that we have an emphasis on seeing people, the people around us as children of God and not as our mortal enemies because they vote different. Is that everybody who feels that way? Probably not.
No.
But it is what we're taught, and that's exactly what President Oaks taught us in conference this weekend, is that hate has no place in these discussions.
Yeah, it also is, the study didn't find anything like this. I also find that maybe inoculated is maybe not the right word towards it, but we get a little bit of it and get a little uncomfortable, where maybe other congregations, right? You can sort of self-select yourself into a very liberal congregation or a very conservative congregation where we're, geographically determined. We don't really get to choose. So maybe there is a little bit of it where it's like, yeah, there's a little bit of everything in this ward, as opposed to, you conservative folks, you're going to go to this one over here, and there's no place for you here. I wonder how much of that is part of it as well. I will tell you this, though. Whenever someone names someone that's running for something within a church setting, I very quickly go, I kind of like bristle and I get like half hand up in the air where I'm like, there's Yep.
Well, and in our current political climate, speakers and teachers have to be very deliberate about avoiding those. For instance, I was teaching Sunday school a few weeks ago, and it happened to be the chapters in the Book of Mormon about the title of liberty. And I don't know if you've experienced it, but I see people on social media, maybe in my circle a little bit, who they've kind of co-opted it.
Sure.
To propel their message forward, and that was really dicey for me. And so I had to be really deliberate of, how am I going to keep this lesson from going off the rails into conspiracy theory and all of that. It was a great lesson, though.
Yeah,
and
nailed
it
it.
ended up not going off the rails. But we have to be, teachers and speakers have to be deliberate about that, because you can take anything now in the scriptures or any topic and be like, the listener could be like, I'm making this a thing, getting on my soapbox. And so just being mindful of those things is important.
Have you ever had this has only happened to me one time in my church worship where someone tried to make it into a thing and the teacher
Mhm.
said, "That is absolutely inappropriate in this discussion. Please leave that." Like being
I've,
scolded is maybe not the right word, but like
yeah,
corrected,
like reprimanded
yeah,
or
within the class
reproached.
discussion. It was powerful because there was people, not just me, who were like, "Thank you."
Yeah, yeah. I cannot recollect anything like that happening, but I will say that the ward that I'm in now skews much younger than probably your ward does.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hate to make it like an age thing, but I think probably older generations are maybe a little bit more willing to take the conversations in that direction, whereas maybe a younger ward, a younger congregation is a little bit more mindful of how those conversations can affect others in the room,
Mm-hmm.
or just the general tone of the lesson. We also have a few people in our ward who are incredible scriptorians.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like in my Sunday school lessons, I never have to worry that the conversation and the discussion is going to be really faith promoting
Mm-hmm.
and really like a good dive into the scriptures. But
Mm-hmm.
that's just that's my perception and my experience. So,
There,
yeah.
I can't remember if this was a podcast somewhere, but I think that there is a healthy amount, and I can't determine it, and certainly don't want to. I think there is a healthy amount of like a little uncomfortability, a
Sure.
little confrontation, but maybe not contention, or maybe if
Mhm.
confrontation is not the right word for it. But I think there is a place and certainly something that we lose that if we're just, it's a bunch of people in a room who don't agree with what's being said, but in order to keep the peace, they just go, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That doesn't suit anyone more than people yelling at each other for several hours.
Right.
Yep.
There's been a few times in Relief Society lessons where I've raised my hand and I'm like, can I push back on what you just said?
Sure.
And I have to be mindful of who the teacher is
Hmm.
because like I actually just did that a few weeks ago, but the teacher that was teaching, she's a very open-minded individual. She welcomes the contrary discussion,
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and so I think it's important. And it wasn't a political thing. None of the times that I've done that have been political. It's just been more like, I think you might be a little sideways on that thought,
Hmm.
on that stream of thought. And then I've been thanked for it,
Yeah.
like after the fact, where somebody is like, I'm so glad you said something because that was going down a path I didn't love.
Yeah. Well, good. Now I get to take the next story, given all that we just talked about, and I'm actually going to blend a couple of the stories
Yeah,
together.
probably a good idea.
Kamala Harris, seeking out the Mormon vote in Arizona. Whole article, and we'll see this again and again and again, and certainly from the Trump campaign as well. Uh, Big players, the Church
Mhm.
of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Arizona, because it is such a purple or swing, could be anyone's state, as it were.
Mhm.
A recent concerted effort by the Harris Walls campaign to get into Arizona and say, hey, you know what? And trying to use the vernacular. I can't remember the quote, but there was something where she said, I wish I could find the quote. Anyway, but basically
Is it in
said,
the first article about it?
I want to say that it is, but it was something, I don't know. She tried to, like when you try and say something that like your kids, you go up to your kids and you're like, yeah, that is sus. And they're like, Mom, don't try.
I do that all the time and it makes me laugh, so I'll keep
Yeah, yeah,
doing
yeah.
it.
But when you're genuinely trying to do it, you're not just doing it for your laughter, like when
Yeah.
people will do that. There was a little bit of that, but it is fascinating to me the amount of members of the church who have decided to support Harrison Walls, and also those that have decided not to.
Yeah.
I the thing that I get tremendously frustrated about when I have conversations with people about this. Am I tiptoeing? Yes, I am. Uh, is it will typically come back to the issue of abortion, it seems
Yeah.
like when I talk with people.
Mhm.
Uh, Blatant and flagrantly, where some people are like, so you want me to vote for a baby killer? And yeah. So the, jeez. So the thing that I just sort of think about all of that is, why do you believe the way that you believe?
Mhm.
Is it Is it something that you've researched out and you genuinely believe it?
Mhm.
What have people said about, and by people I mean church leaders said about voting, particularly like with one ticket, you know?
Yeah.
In both ways, I genuinely believe that they meant that both sides of that that phrase. I also think that just voting a particular issue is dangerous as well.
Yeah.
Um, and so to me, when I talk to some people and I'm like, yeah, but have you ever considered if I can't have a discussion like they've ever considered
Hmm.
another, like what all I'm saying is wrong, right?
Yeah.
Occasionally I'll do this, even just with the church in general. What if this is just a big old hoax, a big lie, a big thing constructed? What would that mean? What would I do? What would I do
Hmm.
differently? How does that affect me? Would I still do, all that kind of stuff? If you can't have the conversation within yourself or with other people to go, but what if?
Yeah.
What if that other person is the better choice?
Yeah.
What if that person, could reflect more of my values, but they have a particular thing that I disagree with? What would that look like? Anyway.
Yeah, it gets complicated and dicey, and it's interesting living in Utah because I
Hmm.
really feel that my vote really doesn't necessarily matter
Hmm.
whichever way I go because we kind of know where Utah's going to land. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah, except I would push back on that and say that in the next 10 years, I think that you could reasonably see that we could, if not, if not swing towards, well, because here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Like
Mhm.
if you look back at when Evan McMullen ran, so many
Right,
people voted for Evan McMullen because they wanted a different option than what was being presented. I
right.
think that if you had a fairly moderate Democratic candidate
Mhm.
for president, I could see the state of Utah going
Yeah,
towards that, depending on what was represented on the other side.
I totally agree. And here's the thing, I'm not a registered Democrat.
Hmm.
Okay. That doesn't mean that I vote everything Republican either. I honestly just feel like I'm politically homeless.
Hmm.
Um, because I have issues with both sides,
Hmm.
right? I'm registered.
And just issues, to be clear.
Yeah, yeah,
And you just have issues. Yeah, yeah,
I do have issues. Yes, I will fully own that. But okay, you made me lose my train of thought.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, because I feel like I'm in this like real weird political like purgatory. I would love for just a super moderate moderate candidate on either side.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, because I really feel that that's the way towards collaboration and cooperation is people who can meet in the middle. And it doesn't matter to me which side that is
Hmm.
because I, yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I just want that option. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so like don't ask me who I'm currently supporting in the election because you're not going to like my answer regardless of what side you support
Right.
because I'm a perpetual, I don't know. It's so weird living in Utah, honestly, in my opinion, when
Yeah.
it comes to elections.
Because
So
you love the Green Party. I get it. I get
I do,
want the
I do.
Green
I
Party
really love the
candidate.
Green
Sure.
Party. Yeah, yeah, that's
The
right.
other story going along with Vice President Harris is that Mayor John Giles, the mayor of Mesa, Arizona,
Hmm.
member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, he spoke at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago last month, and
Hmm.
several other, we'll air quote it, high-profile LDS folk in the state of Arizona have said, yeah, this is the far greater choice.
Yeah,
And I think that that's interesting. I would be curious to know how much Arizona Saints are like Utah Saints because I don't think that they have that instant my vote doesn't matter. I think that they have that my vote matters so much more. So is the
yeah,
temperature turned up in their
yeah,
church houses, or are people able to have conversations? Are people able to hear from someone else and says, listen, we
hmm,
worship the same savior, and how can you and actually have that an impact on them? I don't know if
yeah.
people can do that, or if
Well,
that's
my sisters live in Arizona, and I
Mhm.
asked one of them, what do people in Arizona think about Giles? And she said it's very split. And I
Mm.
said, what's the vibe among members of the church? And she said, and this is from her perspective, And I don't want to implicate her with some of the other things that she said because that's private. But she said, I would say most don't like him politically. But like her personally, she likes that he's inclusive of marginalized groups and he's done well in that realm. And so, you know, if most people don't agree with him within the church, then it might not do a whole lot of good. But that's also one little sample size. That's Gilbert, which is different than Mesa or Phoenix, or areas like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Whether that helps or not, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I sure am excited for it to be done.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I feel like we've been in a perpetual election cycle for the past like 17 years.
Yes. Yes.
I don't like it.
You mentioned genealogy earlier. Let's talk real quick about the Roots Tech.
Yes. So registrations for Roots Tech are open. Sorry, I'm finding the article.
You're fine. You can go online to rootstech.org. That's how you can get registered.
And this is, one of the largest, maybe the largest, I don't know. It's the premier global family discovery.
It's got to be
conference.
The largest genealogy conference. What else would even come close to something like this?
I agreed. And it's hosted by Family Search, obviously in connection with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It'll be March 6th through the 8th of 2025. The cost right now, early bird registration, is $99. And as of November 1st, it will increase to $129. The first 1,000 registrants will receive a limited edition Roots Tech pin. So that's fun.
Pin? Why do you want a pin for going to a conference?
My family and I are pin collectors from various places.
Okay.
So I actually think that might be a cool thing.
Are you a Disney pin collector? Hold on. Disney pin?
No, Hard Rock Cafe.
Those people are crazy. Disney pins? They are great. The only thing more intense than a Disney pin is an Olympic pin. Go on.
Exactly. So no, we collect Hard Rock Cafe pins.
Okay.
We've got them from all over the world. I have a daughter who's a pin collector of anything. So anytime we go on a trip, her souvenir that she asks for is always a pin.
Okay.
I also, you mentioned the Olympics. Snoop Dogg brought his own Olympic pin to the Olympics, and it's him smoking a joint and blowing the Olympic rings. But my daughter found a replica of it and bought one for me.
There you go.
That made me really excited.
Yeah, of course it did.
So there's people that could be interested in a Roots Tech pin, and if that's something that they do every single year going forward, that could be
it becomes a collectible.
Exactly.
Sure. Okay.
At Roots Tech, there's hundreds of classes. There's an expo hall. There's main stage sessions, which have included like presentations from apostles, celebrities, influencers, big names.
They always have big keynote speakers.
Yeah.
I've never been. I've always said I'm going to go. I think.
Yeah, we've talked about doing a cultural hall Roots Tech thing. Yeah.
Let's do it, yes.
We should. And get matching t-shirts.
Yes, we'll get matching pins if we go.
There you go. There is a Family Discovery Day. This is a free live event on Saturday, March 8th, designed specifically for Latter-day Saints. It is filled with fun activities, games, and discovery ideas for the entire family. The keynote and other select sessions will be streamed live online and available to view on demand.
Yeah.
So
I really have no excuse for not interacting with it because so much of it is available online.
Yeah.
It's just excuses at this point.
And really, you should probably do a booth that's about like audio record keeping.
Yeah, I should do that for sure.
Yeah.
Why don't I do any of the things I'm supposed to? I should. I just should all over myself and I never do it.
Well, make it happen. It's probably too late to get signed up as an what's the word?
Like a vendor? No, I'm sure they'll still take vendor application. Not till March.
It depends on how much you pay.
This is only October. Of course they're taking it. They'll take my money and give me booth space. Are you kidding?
Next time I record with you, I expect you to have a booth schedule.
I'm going to find out how much it costs. How about that? By the next time, I'm going to find out. Hold on. I'm writing this note to me. Find out Roots Tech cost for vendors.
And then if it's too expensive, you crowdfund it from the back row.
Yeah, 100% was what I was going to do. We only have time for a couple of news stories.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I talked too much.
No, you didn't talk too much. We had a great discussion. We got caught up. I feel closer to you now than I did an hour ago, and that's what this time is
Interpersonally.
about. Yeah, yes. You know what? Your interpersonal communication skills have increased since the last time we chatted.
Thank you.
So I want
Thank
you to
you.
know that you're walking this pathway to a better person.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go here, though, because I think that this is both tragic and terrible and also really funny.
Okay.
Don't click on this link in the show notes unless you're all right seeing blurred out vandalism photos. But I had to laugh at this. And you're thinking, with a headline that says, "Community shocked, disheartened after vulgar vandalism on Southern Utah LDS Church," that you think, what kind of horrible person are you, Richie, that you would laugh at this? I promise that there is a payoff here. In Santa Clara, which is just outside of St. George, if you've ever been to Tuacahn, it's kind of up that way. There's a couple church historic sites. I think it's maybe the home of Brigham Young or one of the bishops, early bishops of the church. There's
Wasn't that where Jody Hildebrandt was arrested?
yeah. Also home of Jody Hildebrandt. Beautiful homes. A great, yeah, it's a gorgeous little kind of valley down there in Utah's Dixie. And this. So Captain Rich Rogers with the Santa Clara Ivans Police Department told ABC4 that the vandalism happened at the LDS Church near 3680 Pioneer Parkway in Santa Clara. An officer came across the obscene vandalism while on patrol. Images show the front door of the church as well as several trailers in the parking lot, spray painted with the words, and I don't even feel comfortable saying this phrase, so I'm not going to, and pornographic images on the doors of an unattached building. So read, the little storage building that we all have in the parking lots of our LDS churches.
Yeah.
Where you keep like the snowblower and
Camping equipment.
Yeah, camping equipment, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was vandalized over there as well. Now I got to get back to my news story. On the doors of an unattached building also were sprayed the words, "You're a cult." Now, here's the two things that I just laughed about. Well, three things, actually. One, it's not you are. This is a clearly not very intelligent person because they didn't do the apostrophe RE. And I feel like if you're going to do it, if you want some cred when you're vandalizing,
spell it right, dang it.
Yeah, use the right term. So you're a cult. I mean, let's start there, right?
Yeah.
The second thing that my mind went to is in the pictures that you'll see. This particular church still has the more than one Boy Scout trailer in the corner of the parking lot, and I thought we weren't doing that anymore. So have they not sold their trailers? Are they holding on to them for a different reason? Most of the ward houses along the Wasatch Front and certainly the Intermountain West had those Scout trailers. There was a huge surplus of Scout trailers when we got rid of Scouts. Could have gotten one for a great deal, but this particular ward house still has two. So I've got some questions, Santa Clara.
Okay. I drove by a church building up in Rexburg that had 4.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Maybe they're just keeping them around because why buy a new one?
Yeah, but
if you need a trailer.
But you don't need one at the point that you're not, are you going
young men's camps?
Are you going on a ward camp out? Okay,
Maybe.
have one for the stake. They're not. Anyway.
Yeah.
I thought that's a Boy Scout trailer. I didn't think we were doing that. And then the last thing and this just sort of made me laugh. So you have these just horrible, vulgar, like F words and different things, and you're a cult and all these things. And then in one of the pictures, and it caught my eye because it wasn't blurred out at all.
Okay.
The graffiti says, "You're a butt." And
was it YOU apostrophe RE?
No, it was grammatically incorrect. You're a butt. And I was like, if there was ever some teenage angst with a spray can, that is what this is. And I'm sorry, and it's unfortunate, and people should learn to have conversations, and they shouldn't do that, and it's horrible language, it's vulgar, all of the things. But I just saw it, and I was like, if ever there was a time that a kid was trying to get his emotions out, it's "you're a butt" on the...
So to all of this, I say, dear school system,
yeah,
please teach our kids
yeah,
correct grammar so that our aspiring graffiti artists and vandals can at least get it right.
yeah, because you'd still feel bad, you'd still feel angry, it's still inappropriate, but there would be sort of a little bit of satisfaction knowing that they did YOU apostrophe RE a butt.
Yeah. Yeah. Very funny.
Yeah.
Also disheartening
Yeah, and
and
terrible.
heartbroken.
And don't do that
Yeah.
stuff. Have you ever been, let me ask you this about this, because I want to make sure we get this story in. I find it hilarious the way that I am sort of like Utah privileged, or not Utah privileged maybe, but like blind to things. I see these
Yeah,
stories
you're
come out.
comfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or I just have lived here in Utah nearly my entire life, except for clown school and when I went on a mission. Story. Uh,
Yeah.
but about the about Gilgal Gardens, have you ever been there before?
Do you know what's so funny? If I introduced this story, I was going to ask you the same question.
Hmm.
Have you ever been to Gilgal Sculpture Garden? I've never been.
You've never been?
No, but I've only lived here for 13 years. I haven't been here my whole life.
Yeah, but 13 years is a long time.
I know I've had 3 kids since then.
I mark my time in kids.
I do.
So, it's a fascinating place. Gilgal Gardens, and probably the most, I don't know, startling, but visually startling thing that you will
Yeah.
see in Gilgal Gardens is a sphinx, and the face of the sphinx is Joseph Smith. And it's this garden with an amazing rich history. I've just decided I'm going to get a historian on. We're going to do a whole episode about it because it was like 2 blocks from my old house, so we would actually go on walks quite a bit and at least pass by, if not go in. But interesting history about the individual who, put all the things in there and made that a possible. Interesting symbolism within the whole thing. I find it absolutely fascinating, but some people are like, "Wait, Sphinx Joseph Smith, what is this?"
Yeah, I didn't really understand the explanation of the symbolism. I
Yeah,
didn't like, I'm like, I don't see it, but the artist obviously does.
well, and there's all sorts of cool things, like if you've ever been to a Peace Gardens, or if you've ever been, when I was talking with Verlin in our last Articles of News episode, right up by Ensign Peak, there's this little garden area. It's an awesome, like, just contemplative place, right? Take a lunch and just kind of meander around and be in the spirit of this place that is in the city, but not of the city. Yeah, see what I
Sure.
did there.
I do see what you did there.
But go and be able to check it out. Future episode of the Culture Hall, because it's intertwined with the church. It's a fascinating place. But the image of Joseph Smith as a sphinx, you just go, wait, what is happening? Why is this?
Yeah, I've seen the picture of it, but I can't remember. Does it have a nose, or is it like the Sphinx where it doesn't have a nose?
That is an excellent question that I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't know.
Okay.
I appreciate that question though. And then let's see, how many more news stories do we have? We just
A lot.
have, yeah, we've got a ton. I'll mention this real quick and then let's end on the Hurricane Helene.
Okay.
So I'll do, yeah, yep. Oh, shoot. We've got so many stories.
I
If you
know
have,
it's my fault.
no, you're fine. You're fine. If you have not watched the choir, from General Conference, the children's choir sing Gethsemane, that's your
Mhm.
assignment. So cool. And the
Yeah.
kids sang so good.
Yes, they did. They sounded awesome. And
Uh,
having them all in white, I
yeah,
loved.
it
That
was
was really cool.
what a cool thing. I love that. I loved when we did the soloist, and then it was a duet,
Oh,
a
yeah.
trio in conference. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah. I
Anytime
love
we do
that.
something like that is super awesome. Those are your viewing assignments from General Conference. If you like the music of General Conference, that wasn't the story that I meant to talk about. What I wanted to talk about, if you want to be a Nauvoo Performing Arts missionary,
Mhm.
you have, but only until the 18th of October, to be able to apply for next year. That's the 2025 Nauvoo Performing Arts Mission. It's people who serve for 3 months in one of 2 casts. While a
Mhm.
performing mission doesn't replace a teaching or service mission, serving as a Nauvoo performing missionary is a great way for young single adults to serve at any stage in their post-high school journey up to age 25.
Yeah, it's super cool. I have a friend whose daughter just got back from doing that mission, and now she has her. She's also going on a teaching mission.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so she's going to San Jose, I think, Spanish speaking. But I've actually suggested to my son, who loves theater, he loves music,
Mhm.
he's like super into that world. I was like, dude, maybe you should apply for that. That would be a really cool opportunity, because you get 2 separate mission calls. There's not a lot of people who can say that they have 2 separate mission calls.
Fun fact, you can apply at nauvoohistoricsites.org and then look for where it says serve at the bottom. Get that in before the 18th of October. I applied the summer before I was excommunicated.
Oh, wow.
And I did not get it because I was excommunicated, but I auditioned and they needed like 12 people and I was number 13.
Isn't that the worst?
Well, it's the worst, and I have wrongfully contemplated, like, what if he just would have called me on a mission? Maybe I would have been in a different place now. I like to take that because then that makes
Yeah.
none of the responsibility on my choices, and I can just put it all on God. Thanks a lot. That's
Yeah.
how I like to justify that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It healthy? Yeah, real healthy, real healthy.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Absolutely. It's a perfect frame of mind to be in.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Any mental health professional would say, Richie, you're
Yeah.
on the right track.
Yeah, anything that you can do to not make yourself personally responsible, all in.
You are on the path to
Yep,
healing.
there it is. I'm on the covenant path.
Yeah,
Healing.
sure.
There it is. No, you're not going to agree with that. All right,
Probably
tell
not.
me about people helping people within the Hurricane Helene
All
situation.
right, 6,000 Latter-day Saints bring relief to Hurricane Helene victims. Volunteers from 400 congregations restore faith and hope in the affected communities. So congregations from, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and the Carolinas have all come out to help bring relief to more than 3,000 homes.
Jeez.
Coordination is taking part at 11 command centers throughout the region. They spent more than 77,000 combined hours mucking out flooded homes, clearing debris, removing downed trees, and tarping roofs. One of those volunteers who helped was Stacy Bruno, South Carolina. She traveled 2 hours to help women that she did not know. She said, "I hope this experience restores her and all our faith in humanity. In the political landscape and just life in general, we can be bombarded with negative stuff and falsely begin to believe false messages about people. I hope that," she's talking about a woman specifically that she helped. "I hope that she knows that we are people who just love." And she, so obviously a wonderful experience for this particular sister who was helping. And President Nelson reflected on the deeper meaning of their service. He said, "This service is a wonderful opportunity for us to think about our eternal natures and the eternal natures of those people that we come in contact with."
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that wasn't President Nelson. That was the woman that I was talking about. Sorry. So yeah, there's areas of North Carolina that were completely decimated. I mean, like, they don't exist anymore. One of the people that I was talking to at my husband's conference, she lives like an hour away from a town in North Carolina, and she was like, "We were relatively fine, but this town just like doesn't exist anymore."
Yeah.
And it's because the storm brought 5 feet of water through homes because of the rain. So yeah, it's just it's devastating. And I'm glad to see the church doing what it does, which is come out and do the thing. And it doesn't matter who they're doing the thing for.
Right.
They're doing the thing for children of God.
Yeah, I don't want the disaster where I live.
Right.
Certainly, and nobody does. That's such a flippant statement. But the opportunity to be able to have the out of sorts worship service. We talked about it in the last articles news. A lot of people have had the experience before where you come together. It's basically like sacrament and let's go kind of church day. I think that's an incredible experience. Speaks to who we are as a people and how we can hopefully help other people that, like you mentioned, are God's children. Elder Uchtdorf, this is one of my favorite quotes, actually. And I think about this quite often. Sometimes in very serious situations and sometimes in just sort of hard situations, but where I just, you want the collaboration and teamwork of everyone, said, "Stand close together and lift where you stand." And I think that that's a huge, huge thing. We're facing down another hurricane now where undoubtedly the people of Tampa are going to get, at very least, a lot of wind and a lot of water. And, to be able to help those out. And I think that it's important to look at what we can do. Now in Utah, I can't do a whole lot for people in Florida, but I am mindful of, like, are there organizations that I can donate to? Does the church accept donations specifically for these reliefs? Can I donate blood? Can I, are there places that I can do it? And I think that it's important that even though it maybe doesn't, like today, my house affect me, I think that it's important that we look and are mindful of ways that we can help other people because, That's what
But-
we should be doing, looking for
Yes.
those opportunities.
And even being mindful of the fact that even here in Utah, we could have disasters that would put
Yes.
us in the same situation. I mean, we hear all the time about the earthquakes that are the potential of the earthquakes that could happen along the Wasatch Front,
Mhm.
and that would completely take out cities,
Yeah.
And so being mindful that this isn't just a North Carolina, South Carolina, East Coast thing.
Mhm.
We could sit here and tomorrow, for whatever reason, be in need of all of the people in the yellow shirts to come and help us.
Yep.
And it wouldn't be us here in Utah. It would be people from like Nevada and Colorado and Wyoming,
Mhm.
but then to see, like up in Idaho, things could happen and we might need to mobilize.
Yeah.
And so to think that we are not going to be put in that position, it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body.
And that if you are not healthy enough to listen this week, you'll be healthy enough to listen next week.
And that when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety. In the meantime, Chris at Alpine Lakes Travel, Rick McGee, Debbie Wanless, Chocolate Cake Bites Podcast, and the Tiger with a U will be saving a seat for you
On the back row
of
of
the
the
Cultural
Cultural
Hall.
Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat on the back row. We really gotta go on the Culture Hall show.